Greetings and welcome back to the weekly news roundup. I hope everybody had a good week, getting ready for a good weekend. And is Rumble actually working? Oh, there it goes. Okay, now Rumble's working. I wait until I have a confirmation on all of the streaming channels before we actually push the live button, and Rumble was not taking time. I gotta keep remembering to set the stream time start for Rumble earlier, because that seems to be what the problem is. This is our first show back broadcasting from the Eastern time zone. Yes, I did cross over time zones. This year time zones has been weird, I gotta say, because I crossed over into the Mountain time zone, and then a week later into the Pacific time zone, and then we had a time change, and then I'm in Pacific for about a month, and then I cross over into Mountain, and then we have another time zone change, and then a few weeks later, I was in Mountain for a couple months, and then I crossed over into Central, and then we had the daylight savings time change, and then a week later I crossed back into Eastern. I have no idea what time it is. I don't know. I'm like a pilot right now. I am flying blind. I'm relying on the instrumentation being that little clock in the corner of my computer. But also the rest area I was going to broadcast the show from was closed, and so I proceeded to the nearest available Walmart. So I got to get out of their parking lot as soon as our show's done here. So I'm not sure if this is going to be a long show or a short show. There were a lot of news articles. We did whittle it down to 2 basic topics and 10 QuickLines as usual, so we'll see what happens. Also, for those that have been asking about it, BitChute is functioning once again. So for a good 3 or 4 months it was not syncing videos, and I do not have the bandwidth to upload videos to yet another channel. So I've reached out to support multiple times, and they finally got it working this last week, and then so far they've backfilled the catalog back to about 3 weeks. So if you were one of the people that were concerned about the BitChute channel, then that is, as of right now, syncing videos back over as usual. So there is that. Of course, if you would like to help and support the channel, you can have a look at our website, switchedtolinux.com/support. There's all the ways you can help support the channel with direct support on our direct support systems. We do have a couple of affiliates over there. Of course, if affiliates go weird, I kind of get rid of them. We're not we don't take sponsorship stuff. Affiliates, though, are a way. It's a thing I've thought about for a while, and it's you know what? They're all, or most of them, are things that I either have used or have experience with, and are companies I trust, and if they go wonky, I remove them. But in the event, if you need phone, I've been using Mint Mobile for 6 or 7 years now, no problems, and you can't be like, well, it doesn't work in my area. It probably does. I've traveled the country, and I've not had any problems outside of in the middle of some canyon or something, I won't get phone, but I won't get any phone service. So, tlm.li/mm, of course, for Mint Mobile. A lot of our infrastructure on the channel is DigitalOcean, so we use DigitalOcean for our private Jitsi servers and Nextcloud and things like that. These are all companies that they are good, and if you want to help support the channel and you have an interest in using any of those, you can use our affiliate links, and that will help us out. But we do not accept money from them outside of clicking on those links. And hopefully you don't have Honey installed, because, that kind of gets rid of it all. But anyway. So let's get into our first topic for today. We're going to talk about the Techno-Medical Complex, and just a warning, we are going to end with an article that will likely send 50% of the country into anaphylactic shock. I'm going to warn you up front, because, Orange Man Bad's Maha Hero has spoken, and I have thoughts. So let's go ahead and talk about the Techno-Medical Complex. And to start this, I actually would like to review what we talked about on our Windows Wednesday. In the event you missed our Windows Wednesday, we talked about Copilot and health. And we addressed this question, do you trust your medical information into the hands of Copilot? I mean, I don't trust my medical information. I mean, I don't even trust my medical information in the hands of most doctors. So, a random big tech company that has a habit of monetizing everything out there is probably not high on my list of priorities to hand any form of data to. But they're talking about this. I mean, and they are security first, like everything Microsoft does with, rolling out a disastrous recall. And hey, in our QuickLines this week, we will see that the Microsoft Authenticator for your two-factor codes had a breach. Security first. I would think they would think security first on that too. So if that's a preview of coming attractions, medically we're screwed, but we did talk about this, and then I mentioned, of course, that company, Copilot's like, it's all the health stuff, and then it all links into these centralized databases, and then these centralized databases are used for research protocols, and turns out that the country with the biggest one of these is Biobank out of the UK, and Biobank out of the UK had a data breach. In fact, it's so bad they have regular, constant, ongoing breaches because of all the massive number of people who have access to all of this health data for quote-unquote research information. Don't worry, the data is anonymized. It just tells you what your diagnosis was, what hospital, what's your birth date, what's your gender, and the place and the time it happened. But it doesn't mention your name, folks. So you can rest very assured in that they don't know who you are. But all of these scientists who have access to this have no earthly idea how to secure any of this data. They don't treat it like it's private health data. And so it keeps on finding its way onto GitHub. I will note GitHub is a Microsoft-owned product. So here's this. They said from July to December in 2025, they issued 80 legal takedown notices to GitHub. 80 times they found health data on GitHub. One data set found online in January consisted of hospital diagnosis, associated diagnosis dates for about 413 participants, along with the sex and the month and year of birth. So, can we trust all of this health data stuff that would like to do nothing more than just collect all of the data and send it all up there and all that kind of stuff? And I hope that you're looking at this stuff going, no. And where does it get this data from? Well, it gets the data from your health trackers, your smartwatches, your hospital visits, your smartphone in some cases. iPhone, it tracks a lot of your health data, and you may not even know it does it. Like, I don't have one of those Apple Watches. I wouldn't possibly do that. If you go into your iPhone under the latest iOS versions and you click in under the health there, you can actually see that it's taking your steps, and it has other ways of collecting information. And if you have that phone connected to an iCloud account, guess what? All your health data from that phone is anticipating is being stored up in your Apple account. So good luck with that. So with all that being said, there's this big problem about AI where they can catalog the text really easy, but they can't necessarily catalog the real world. So these guys here are building memories.ai, and they want to build a visual memory layer for wearables and robotics. Now, I was going on the fence about whether to include these articles in a discussion of the Techno-Medical Complex, but I think it's important because basically what they're doing is creating a digital real-world physical map that can tie in to all of this other health data. So not only do they know about your exercise patterns, your sleep patterns, but because these things also collect a lot of location data and utilizing these spatial models here, effectively, they can also know information about the terrain you work out in, the various places you see, the stuff that you see across the way. So they're building this. And what was really hilarious about this is they looked around to see if they could find anyone already building that type of visual memory solution for AI. They couldn't find it. So they decided to spin out of Meta and build it up themselves. But they're about 10 years too late, folks, because I said on this channel almost a decade ago, all these people walk around on their phones, go. I literally said in a video, and I couldn't find which video it was. I literally said in a video, what if they're just going around and just mapping the whole world? They were doing it. This guy was right again. Isn't it hilarious? Pokemon Go players helped build a 30 billion augmented reality image map of the world. Niantic has confirmed it. So Niantic launched Pokemon Go, augmented reality game that took the world by storm. 10 years later, Niantic Spatial is using all the visual data gathered by players to build a massive geospatial model that could power robots and AI. They're basically utilizing this for all these little delivery robots. And what's interesting about this stuff, we'll get there in a moment. So Pokemon Go, along with Pikeman Bloom, Monster Hunter now has access to players' smartphones, cameras during gameplay. The access was not going to be ignored. The games pulled in an astronomical amount of visual data. The result is what it calls a large geospatial model, or LGM, which at its core of the visual positioning system, or VPS, that is based on 30 billion images captured by Niantic games over 10 years. Also, they got a whole spectrum of heights from kids all the way up to adults. So they get enough information to actually build a solid 3D model of everything, utilizing the different heights and things like that. So they're using this for a partnership with Coco Robotics, which is providing the digital maps that are used for all of these robots to be delivering stuff, because, you know, we can't possibly hire delivery drivers. That costs too much. But people are addicted to their fast food through their Klarna supported DoorDash. And so, you know, we'll just continue. We will be quickly approaching the world of WALL-E. If you've not seen that movie, all of the people are just fat slobs incapable of moving that just meander around this ship, second down like super high sugared treats and stuff. But back to memory.ai, they say AI wearables, robotics need memories as well. Ultimately, you need AI to have visual memories. We believe in that future. All we need is the Terminator having a visual 3D map of the world pre-programmed. And in our next article coverage, we'll talk about the robotics and AI being used in military applications, including the detainment of a robot. Yeah, it's getting to be an interesting world here, folks. I've said I'm like a neo-Luddite. I might just go back to being a real Luddite soon. I don't know. I will probably get in prison for calling a robot a clanker sometime in the future after that is made illegal, so that I don't offend the robots, you know. But anyway, they say this isn't as helpful. They're talking about the text-based LLMs. They said this is not as helpful for physical AI applications that largely interact with the world through sight and visuals. And building the infrastructure needed to embed the index and to build and index the videos in data into a format that can be stored and recalled, and capturing the data needed to train the models. Well, they're late because, you know, as we said, Pokemon Go has already been doing this. And as we start looking at all of these things going on, we start asking these questions about, do we trust all of these AI data? And it would actually turn out that the answer would be no. Most people do not trust AI data, but it has been forced on us either way. In fact, I love the opening sentence here to this Malwarebytes article. AI didn't sneak into our lives. It burst through the front door, took a seat at the table, and started finishing our sentences. And I might only spruce up the sentence more by saying, and it refused to leave when we said to go away, because that's kind of where it is. But having a look at a survey, now, they did say that this is a very biased survey. This is a survey done by Malwarebytes blog readers. And if you're reading Malwarebytes blogs, you're probably like me. You're a geek watching for security stuff. You're more about privacy. So this is probably skewed a little bit. It's also a small sample size, 1,200 responses. But they said 90% of respondents said they're worried about AI using their data without consent. And that is a problem. So 4% are the disagree. These people need to be checked into an asylum, make asylums great again. 6% were neutral on it, and 90% are like, yeah, that's kind of terrifying. And so there are some things, you know, I freely share personal information with AI tools, and I would actually say that there's probably more people sharing personal information with ChatGPT and other AI tools than is 6%. So yeah, either they didn't understand the question specifically, or they're trying not to do it, or something is wrong with this, because I really don't think that 88% of people don't give personal data. Many people that I know who are just casual normies walking the world, playing around with this kind of stuff, most of these people that I have seen, that they will tell this thing anything and everything. And then they're like, wow, it's so cool. Wow, it's so helpful. No, it's just sycophantic. It's seeking to destroy you. And all of these people, of course, have problems with narcissists, yet AI is the biggest narcissist in their life, which is kind of funny. All right. Yeah. 92% are concerned that their personal data being used inappropriately by corporations is slightly up from last year. 89%, 74% are concerned about their personal data being accessed and used inappropriately by the government, up from 72%. So, and I'm kind of concerned that both of them will use data. It's just government, believe it or not, is more restrained in what it can or can't do based on competency and structure than other things. That's of course thinking about the fact that many states you have to give a certain amount of data to your DMV, and the DMV simply turns around and sells that stuff. That's problematic. In fact, there was just a lawsuit in Indiana that shut down, telling people about who was actually abusing that. So in Indiana, there was a lawsuit because people are like, hey, I do not want my driver's license data being sold, but the state of Indiana DMV says, well, we can make millions of dollars by selling it. So they sell the information, and then to a bunch of people who pinky promise not to misuse it, and then when they invariably misuse it, they say you can't do that again, but they will refuse to release the names of the companies that have misused their data. And that's what the lawsuit was about. So very interesting stuff out there. So that's kind of how we trust it. But while we're doing this, now all sorts of weird stuff gets pushed out on us, kind of like, this Mave Health is the name of it. It aims to improve attention and mood with brain-stimulating headset. But don't worry, guys, it's not a medical device. Because if it were a medical device, it would have to go through FDA regulation. So they're branding it as not a medical device. It's called Mave Health, but it's not a medical device. It helps you with depression and mental illness, but it's not a medical device. Because if it were a medical device, it would need stricter regulation. And they don't want stricter regulation. Let's have a look at this train wreck. All right, so this is San Francisco-based Mave Health, is the latest of that fleet that claim its $495 neuromodulation headset can improve attention, mood, and regulate stress, and even measure mental health. The startup is positioning the wearable as a non-medical device, so it won't need clearance from agencies like the U.S. FDA to sell in the United States. Don't worry, it's a medical device. It's called Mave Health. It will track your depression. It will track your mental illness, but it's not a medical device because they have said so. Okay? So they created this because in 2023, one of these colleagues decided to press the self-delete button. I mean, if they went up to Canada, it'd be perfectly legal. But, down here in the States, that's still a little bit frowned upon. And so they realized the need for such a device after the flatmate's fiancé self-deleted during the kufi and paranoia. Okay, so sounds like this is probably from the UK. Over here in America, we don't use the word flat. That would be a UK term, so presumably it's over there. So now it's a UK company selling the products in the United States without FDA approval because Mave Health is not a medical device. Got it. U.S. regulators, are you listening? Anybody know a U.S. regulator? Send this along to them. Have a quick look at Mave before it starts selling. It's $500. I didn't see anything in the article about subscription-based, but something like this has got to be subscription-based in addition to the service fee, And so down here, they're kind of talking a little bit about it. The company worked with a medical device and mental health experts to conduct trials of the technology, eventually took a different route to position the headset as a lifestyle device. That's right. It's a lifestyle device that would let Mave reach a wider audience, or less regulated audience, one of the two. The startup provides an app that can measure long-term trends in mood, focus, and stress levels. It can also integrate with other health data and track measures like heart rate variability. So now this is feeding information about your brain cells up into all of these health apps. Now, it's not a health application. We're not going to regulate it as a health application. We want a broader audience, and we can't have a broad audience if we have to have all of this government regulation looking into it. So Mave Health is not a medical device, okay? But it's still tracking stuff and reporting it, all this health data back, including other things. And then this, of course, will appear inside of your giant global, not just the medical database your doctor sees, but the corporate database that's they've all pinky promised and spit shook to make sure it's completely secure, totally untamperable. Only the best Indian programmers who have added pinky promises and spit shooks won't actually access it inappropriately. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, this stuff is taken it all, but it's all up in the cloud. It's all over the place. So one challenge is that consumers may use the device without clinical screening or clear guidance about what is appropriate for their symptoms. Really? Well, if it were approved by the US FDA, maybe that wouldn't. Oh, we don't want to do that. That shows our audience. All right. So now, guys, I'm just going to have to give you a trigger warning. We're going to have to mention 3 letters most people out here just do not like to hear these days. And those letters are R, F, and K. Okay. So RFK Jr. wants every American to be sporting a wearable within 4 years. I'm going to advise you to not listen to this. Or if you are, I have a wonderful video on my Garmin Forerunner that has never seen the internet, never seen a Garmin app, and how I can use it to track things entirely offline, entirely with FOSS applications that do not connect to the internet. Okay. But his whole meeting here says, during a House committee meeting on Tuesday, Kennedy announces a large-scale ad campaign from the federal government to hype wearable tech. All right. So the best thing about this is, since he has just said this, a whole lot of people out there are going to throw away their wearable tech, and I am on board with that. Guys, make wearable tech trash again, okay? Make wearable tech trash again. Please do it. Just trash. So Kennedy revealed that HHS will soon conduct one of the agency's largest ever advertising campaigns to promote their use. He added that in his ideal future, every American will be donning a wearable within the next 4 years. That would be an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring or any one of these devices. So now, guys, our tax dollars, maybe we need to reach out to senators and White House and health secretaries. Be like, dude, do not use our tax dollars to take out advertisements to tell people to use big tech spyware. Okay, let's not do that. This is a really stupid idea. Now, I'm about to irritate about all of you guys. Okay, and you have to understand, but as I irritate about all you guys here, understand that this is actually a field I worked. Like, I have actual degrees tangential to medical nutritional type work. Most of what RFK Jr. says is spot on. In fact, everyone had an epileptic seizure about his new food pyramid. Did you guys know, you can look this up, the original nutritional standards were set by the McGovern Committee, who was a senator out of, I think it was North Dakota, in the 70s. And when they originally were working on the nutritional standards, they brought in actual qualified doctors and medical people. And the food pyramid that they had suggested was the exact one RFK just suggested. And it was rejected on political bounds because that food pyramid would lead potentially to unstable food prices in the economy of that era. And Nixon at that time wanted the food prices stabilized. So they inverted it, making the grains the base, because you could easily farm grains and produce this highly processed, shelf-stable stuff we have now, which led to the obesity crisis. Do not take my word for it. Look that up. It is called the McGovern Committee. Look it up. You will see the exact food pyramid RFK Jr. just recommended is in the McGovern report. They rejected it on political basis, but it is actually healthier. This whole thing goes into a bunch of other stuff, but I wanted to focus on that, on the fact that he's recommending this. This recommendation that every American should be wearing a wearable is one of the things he has said that I completely disagree with, because we should not be handing our medical information to these big companies in an unregulated industry where they will not rein in data brokers, where all sorts of problems are going to arise from these types of things. And so I will highly advise you not to be using a wearable. In fact, one friend of mine, after having a number of discussions, only uses the wearable to track exercise actively at the time and then takes the wearables off as soon as exercise is completed. And so there you have a situation where we have, this is one of those things I disagree with him on that principle, is that no, we do not need to be giving all this data into big tech. We should not be giving it up into the Techno-Medical Health Complex. That is kind of crazy. We should be taking active steps. And if you can monitor a lot of these types of things independently of yourself and maybe give them to your doctor offline at that time, understand this can provide useful information, but the current implementation of sending that all into the cloud and de-siloing it all inside of simple systems, that is a fundamental problem. That is what I have the problem with. So there is our thoughts. Are you caught up in the Techno-Medical Health Complex? Let me know your thoughts about all these in the comments down below. All right, there is our first topic here. And so let's go ahead and actually I need to clear out some articles. I had to jump back and forth between all of our articles there. Let's go ahead and move into our second topic here in just a moment. Good old-fashioned water today. That's all we got left. Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the second of our headlines for the what is this, March 19th weekly news roundup, and we are going to be talking a very short video here, just 2 articles about the robots are coming, guys. Apparently Skynet has been built. The robot clone wars are on the way. And it's all going to start really quick over in China, where a humanoid robot has to be detained by the cops after terrorizing an elderly woman on the street. It's beginning. Now, this was an Android arrest, okay? But this is not an autonomous robot. That's the one thing that you need to recognize from this particular clip, is that this was actually a robot being manually controlled by somebody. Now, what surprised me the most about this article here is that this happened over in China, and they did not send the operator of the robot to the gulag. They did go talk to him, but they didn't send him to the gulag. That's at least not yet, not publicly. They maybe they didn't because there were too many cell phones recording the situation. They'll come back for him later. I mean, it's China. They know exactly who he is. But the surreal incident occurred last week in the city of Macau. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. With the startled 70-year-old ending up in the hospital following her encounter with a 4-foot 4-inch robot. All right, so the senior has been seen raging at the robot in the street, China, last week after it invaded her personal space. Here is the police walking off with the robot. Onlookers filmed the video of the woman yelling at the robot, reported to be a Unitree G1 model retailing from $13,500. You know what? I perfect justice. Just smash the robot. That's my $13,000 robot. Stop using it to abuse elderly women. Okay. In the video footage, the bot was seen raising both arms. It was scolded by the woman. Video subsequently shows 2 police officers taking the robot off the street. Here is, of course, we have video. So, no useful audio in there, but here you can see the robot is over there, and there's the police walking off with the robot. Now, these are not robots that can operate in and of themselves. And so robot purportedly belongs to an education center. It was conducting promotional activities in the area. The Android is being operated remotely by a 50-year-old man who told the police he was testing the robot to further improve its operation. He was subsequently warned by authorities to be more mindful of endangering or frightening pedestrians. Yeah. Looks like the robot needs a lawyer or some basic rights, one quipped. You're going to jail, pal, the second one said. So there you go. Yeah. So that's mildly amusing, but this one's kind of not. So humanoid robots were sent to Ukraine to be deployed in the battlefield for the first time. Now, they were not deploying them into the range with, armed with those laser guns from the Terminator movies, go in there, whatever else. They're actually, it's more like that scene from Signs, if you guys remember when Meryl goes into the Army recruiter's office, and you kind of get that weird, crazy recruiter in there, like it's called probing. It's a military tactic. He goes in that whole thing. And nobody's been hurt, mind you, and that's the rub. Yeah. So that's kind of what they're doing. They're right now sending these in to reconnaissance. And so they're basically deploying all these AI robots, but these guys are able to do at least some functions without any specific control. So there you go. Not to be scientists taught a robot to play tennis with just 5 hours of training data. So that was not too long ago. And of course, now we're sending them into battle situations. So the M1 Phantom humanoid robots have officially been deployed to the front lines of the Ukraine-Russian war. Now, the articles I read didn't say the front line. So they say the robots have been delivered to Ukraine to evaluate their effectiveness. Ukraine has become the world's main testing ground for weapons manufacturers, including Western startups. So all you guys with the conspiracy theory that these wars going on, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's Iran, this is all just here to enrich the people making military weapons. You're probably right. I could see an argument for that. Sure. Futures reports, Mike LeBlanc, a combat veteran and co-founder of robotics firm Foundation, revealed the company has already sent humanoid robots to war-torn battlefields of Ukraine. They're only being used for reconnaissance. It's called probing. It's a military tactic. No one's been hurt, mind you, and that's the rub. They're just here evaluating. For what? The rest of them. And so we think there's a moral imperative to put these robots into war instead of soldiers, LeBlanc told at Time. His goal is to eventually build Phantom into a robot that can use any kind of weapon that a human can, like an eponymous killer robots in the Terminator movies. Yes. So there we have it, folks. Okay, I will meet him here. Yes, I'd probably rather send a robot into battle over a human, but let's not start wars to send robots in. That's a little on the terrifying side, all right? Let's end these things. Let's get everybody home. Let's stop blowing things up. Sure, I agree that sending the robot into the battlefield is probably better than sending the human into the battlefield. But I just don't really want to live in a world where a self-delivering robot can roam around with any weapon a human can. How long before we have robots committing these events in public places? Because some hacker got it, and you think you're deploying the robot here, and the robot goes in and basically goes full-on Terminator mode, goes in a gun store and asks for a Uzi 9mm, and then gets a shotgun, puts things in there, all that kind of stuff. How long before that happens? So reports suggest Phantoms are wielding handguns and rifles in the lab. So this is where the weapons come into play. So in the lab, they are now handling weapons, handguns, and handguns, rifles. Of course, here the soldiers are designed for reconnaissance and resupply. That's probably what they told the investors or the public releases, so that people that are like, you're building robots for war? Oh, no, they're just for reconnaissance and for resupplying things. Then why is it holding a gun? Don't think about that. Just give us more money. We pinky promise and spit shake. We will not use these to destroy people. But come on. Think of the power of sending this in a battle instead of your children. Think of the children, guys. Think of the children. I mean, under the children, man, we get robots armed with guns. We all have to provide our ID to turn on Linux. I mean, we won't arrest the billionaires that are, evidence they've been on some island with some pervert, but we can protect the children by sending robots with guns into war, folks. Come on. So, there you have it. I don't remember there being anything specifically amazing in the videos. That was a longer video, so I don't want to do that one. So here you go. There's some game. This must be from like the TV shows of Terminator or something. I'm not familiar with this clip. Everything after Terminator 2 cannot possibly be canon. The whole idea of Terminator 2 was that it ended the whole thing. But they're like, yeah, we can't end it here. There's too much money to be made. Okay, all right. Understand that. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Robots on the battlefield. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, we will take a brief comment break, and then I gotta close that out. That dude plug up the robot's a little distracting. All right, so let's have a look at our comments. We're going to jump over to Matrix first. And what do we got on Matrix? Come on, come on. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Matrix is busy. Kaiser over there, normies really are useful idiots. There you go. Are they useful idiots or unuseful idiots? Don't have a YouTube account. There you go. Well, we are back on BitChute, so... You were Night of Flight. No Keimer. Let's see. Shh. All right. I know the NHS sponsored is by Gulag instead of Kellogg and General Mills. Thanks to RFK. Okay. Let's see. Love technologies. Same technology is fun, but we have when we have control and freedom. Yeah, I love Big Brother. I love Big Brother. I love Big Brother. That's right, guys. We all need to love Big Brother, everybody. Before we get back in the articles, we're all going to stand up for our 2 minutes of hate. So just so you're aware of that. Just think of anyone you want to hate. I don't know, it doesn't matter who it is. Just, you know. Everyone just get your picture of your guy for 2 minutes of hate. We're going to do it. So, all right, let's see. Hey, we can save a few $1 billion. There you go. Will they still be programmed by Mark Zuckerberg? Probably. I mean, it's based on his programming, so presumably so. We got 6 watching on Rumble. We got Rothead Rex over there. Greetings. Existence scenario. Plug gamers into VR. AARP versus robots was not on my bingo card. There you go. Meat grinder hypothesis. Oh, boy. Firearm delivery drones. Yes, he's just carrying the gun to resupply the soldiers. All right, we got 13 watching on Odyssey. Wherever in Odyssey this. Let's see. We got Ivan's over there. Ela Swirl, greetings. Arrive with a soft taco dinner. Nice. Soft taco dinner sounds good. Microchips in the body. Oh Lord, no. Who the donkey sleeps with a watch on? Apparently, a lot of people do. What coffee does to me makes me relax. There you go. There you go. Yeah. I drink tea, more caffeine than tea. Simply a Naga black tea is one of St. John's wort. There you go. About California Bill 1042. How does an OS like Windows Vista retrofit it? Its only method I can think of is an injection of ISP. Yeah, that's the thing is the law says that any operating system must be retroactively upgraded, which I am looking forward to those Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows XP. I'm looking forward to all of those particular upgrades. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe they'll patch security patches into there. Wouldn't it be really hilarious if Microsoft patched it for age verification but left all the security vulnerabilities? That would be hilarious. We got a super chat over on YouTube. Thank you for that, Mark Covington. I appreciate it. I think you're pretty cool. How did Linux first start up? Linux first start up. I'm not a huge history guy. 33 watchers on YouTube, by the way. But it basically kind of started up with, there was kind of a battle with like Unix type systems. I think Xerox was the first to have a GUI, which was it Apple that bought it, I think, from them. Which ended up being the foundation for the original GUI platforms in the Macintosh computers. But then what ended up happening is the discussion around being able to freely use things happened, and there were licenses on Unix, and so Linus Torvalds is like, I don't like that, so I'm going to rewrite it. And that's kind of the start of it, and that is the basics of the Linux kernel. Now, the GUI, the graphical user interface, we look at, that actually came about, I believe was that Stallman actually created it, or at least had a heavy hand in it, one of the two. And I'm not a solid historian on all that that specifically, but off the top of my head. There you go. Over on the Tubies, the Polish guy, greetings. If you're not first, you're last. There you go. Night of Light, greetings. XGUI4 Studio, happy Arctics user. There you go. System D is adding age verification. I did actually see something about that, but of course, System D is also free and open source software, so distros will be glad to take it out if they want to. So there you go. But hey, if it's thrown in there automatically, hey, we were in compliance. Let's see. Howdy and Tom, it looks like we might have another Solus on our hands with Manjaro. Might be good to okay, what do you mean specifically? Another Solus with Manjaro. Like Solus and Manjaro are different distros. I'll have to look into what I'll look up Solus Manjaro and see if I can find out, or if you want to email me something. The new Bigfoot emoji. Yeah, I can't see the Bigfoot emoji on my system. Maybe I just need to push some updates or something. I don't know. KO2610, your number has been called. Greetings and salutations to you as well. According to Lunduk, System D is attempting to integrate age verification as mandatory. Debian is officially finished. Yeah, I don't think they'll pull that off. We'll get a mass proliferation of distros without System D in that case. I'm going to look into Manjaros. We might have another Solus. Let's see what dev. Oh, is it with fighting devs? I'll see if I can find anything on it. My non-Android systems on Manjaro. There you go. I just saw online they deployed the Marines on the West Coast. Not sure what's happening there. I have no idea. I mean, it is the West Coast, so crazy things happen on the West Coast all the time. So who knows? Who knows? For all we know, a dolphin came up and said the N-word out of the ocean or something. I don't know. California's crazy, so. Who knows? All right. Let's see. Manjaro is one of the largest Arch-based distros, and Solus is one of the biggest independent distros. Yeah. I'm a Debian guy. Working to make my own custom Dev1 spinoff. Mate desktop and customizations. There you go. So Manjaro is going through some dev infighting right now over funding. And that happens. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Let's see. How to take down my distro download links because of the age verification laws being passed. Yeah, that's fun. Lunduk already talked about the Pokemon Go situation. Yep. Credit the news is important when we can. Yes. Let's see. I will continue to talk clanker to clankers. There you go. Have you tried Searing's search engine allows you to bypass other search engines? A long time ago, I played around with it. I can't remember if we actually turned it into a video, but I actually did build one for a while, tested it around and such. So yeah, it was kind of fun. So we had that. Like I said, I don't know if I actually did a video on it or not, but yeah, I did build a self-hosted one. Played around with it for a little while. Mental Asylum should not come back. That's just evil. No, Mental Asylum should come back. But if you're going to refuse to put people in jail who commit crimes under the guise of mental illness, then you need to lock them into a mental asylum. We cannot, okay, we have to have a civil society where people are freely, safely able to walk about the streets and do their business. And our current status quo is somebody commits a crime and then we first do a mental evaluation. Well, this guy is not mentally competent to stand trial. Okay, so we just let him back on the street? Is that your plan? Well, that doesn't work because now society is not safe. And so there's a lot more that goes into it than just, oh, mental asylums, they were bad. Yeah, there were a lot of really bad things in mental asylums in the 70s. There's a lot of bad things in medicine in the 70s too, I mean, they were at one point in time giving people measly beef and putting leeches on them and, lobotomizing them for the sake of medicine. That is all wrong stuff that hopefully we've learned a little bit more, although modern pharmacology isn't too far off of most of that stuff. But all that being said, if a person commits crime, they need to be removed from society. If you don't want them to go to jail, they have to be locked up somewhere else. If you say that they have mental illness, you need to lock them somewhere where their mental illness can be addressed, which is not something that is specifically addressed inside of a prison. So if you commit a violent crime, you cannot be on the streets. Either we have to put them all into prisons, or we have to differentiate them and say, this group here are mentally competent. They're just evil and crazy. Throw them into jail. These guys are not mentally competent, so they need to go over here to the asylum. Either way, you cannot let them back out on the streets. And that's really the difference there. No, I did not get the Pokemon Go stuff from Lunduke. I don't even recall seeing that he talked about it. Yeah, believe it or not, like I like what Lunduke does, but I don't follow his stuff super closely. I mostly catch the headlines of his videos on X, which I look at X as I post my videos. I'll scroll through the last days or so I see he's done it. So, and the last video, like the video went up today, I actually recorded it a couple days ago because I knew I was going to be busy for the next couple days. And so I haven't been on X for a while. So yeah, if Lunduke covered it in the last day or so, I didn't see it. I don't know what his thoughts were. I will tell you, though, that over a decade ago, I warned that that's exactly what they were doing. So, call me Mr. Prophet. All right. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean you did not, it's out there. Lunduke had to get it from some other sources as well. Yeah, that's, I'm trying to remember, where did I see it? Like, I think I saw it online somewhere, but I didn't have an article. I actually had to actively go looking for the article. I found a BBS system inside an emulator called MBBS EMU. You should check it out. Brings back the BBS memories. There you go. My view of the age verification situation is I'd rather there not be any, but if there has to be any, I'd like the user given and not requiring any external services. Yes. RFK, I cannot trust him without someone with a brainworm or someone who offended people like me. I cannot trust him, not someone like a brain. No, I mean, okay, so you do not want to trust a 70-year-old guy with a six-pack with health advice? Would you rather the Dick Levine giving you health advice? That moron doesn't even know if he's a boy or a girl, and he's fat to boot. I'm the health secretary. I'm the picture of health. Okay? No, it doesn't work that way. I will trust 70-year-old guys with six-packs to give me some health advice. Just a thought. And FYI, as somebody with a doctorate in that related fields to what he's doing, he is spot on most of the time. Now, I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying most of the time. He's spot on. Here at System D, add birthday to user DB. Yeah, okay. How's everyone doing? Why, hello, Mark Covington. How are you? Of course, in China, yes. the acoustic robots in China, yep. It'd be awesome if a wearable stored the data on the device and manage and generate charts and data on the device. Well, that's why you can do like Gadget Bridge, and I did a whole video about using the Garmin with Forerunner series with Gadget Bridge, which you never have to touch to the Garmin app. Now, many of the Garmin devices, you do have to sync it to the app to use it first. The Garmin Forerunners, you do not. You can go directly into Gadget Bridge and manage that stuff directly. It would be cool if we could plug it in and grab the data directly off there, but the problem is that companies don't want to do that because they can't monetize all that data that it collects, and that's the problem. Did the robot show a middle finger? I don't know. I didn't see that. Hi, Sarah. We need her and her son. Yes. No syncing via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to an Android app or uploading to a web server requiring to sync to phone, just plain old .log files. Yep. Yeah, stop Skynet, stop wars. I agree with that. Yeah. Let's see. The rise of the clankers. Grandma is not safe. That's right. Call Clippy and Sarah Connors. Yeah, there you go. Big tech, big pharma. We can't make more iconic duo. Yep. I'm sorry, Dave. You can't take your smartwatch off. I must have your biometrics, Dave. Or you pull from Tom Hanks, right, from Apollo 13. I'm tired of the entire Western world knowing how my kidneys are functioning. All right. Robots, I think, would be worth a try. What do you think? There you go. Especially the younger normies tend to be naive and gullible enough to be swayed into ignoring their own pattern recognition. Absolutely, yeah. Like they don't want to believe conspiracy theorists. Did you see the Afroman? Okay, I saw a couple headlines on the Afroman lawsuit. I've been super busy the last couple days. I have no earthly idea what's going on with Afroman and why everybody's talking about it. I haven't a clue. Do I need to look up Afroman? Let me know in the comments. I'll look up Afroman if y'all tell me I should. I have no idea about Afroman. Thank you again for the super chat. I see we have another super chat from Fresh Vintage. Check out Fresh Vintage's channel, particularly if you like cars and car information. They do a lot of car show stuff. Chuck Norris in the hospital after medical emergency while on vacation in Hawaii. Okay, if Chuck Norris dies, the end is officially here. Or is Chuck Norris in the hospital? Let me make this. Let me tell you what the headline should be. Chuck Norris in the hospital, visiting the tsunami that he stopped with his hand. Right? Is that it? Okay. Let's see. Forgot Chuck Norris was an actual person and not just a meme. Yeah. So it's actually GNU Linux, not just Linux. Yes, technically it is. Also gives you more ammo to shut down the Internet Archive. Let's see. So when Linus wanted a free operating system, he made his own. The GUI came from Stallman. Yeah, I believe it was Stallman that did that. Since they'll still have a bunch of non-compliant operating systems on top of archives of leaked source code. Yep. Does Linux have its own version of the media player? So there's Linux itself, no, because Linux is just a kernel. So Linux is a kernel. It runs the subset processes of the system. What we generally see as Linux, what I'm looking at my desktop, is the GUI, the graphical user interface. That's put together on Linux with a bunch of desktop environments typically, window managers as well. But the desktop environments, those are basically the things that draw up the graphical spaces and things like that. Now then there's applications on top of it. So there are dozens and dozens of really good media players. So look around at the ones that are out there. So the most popular, I'd say Lollipop, Rhythmbox, Clementine. Those are some of the most popular. If you're talking like the Windows Media Center, my best buddy Cody. Cody applications are good at that. VLC, of course, is a universal one. Yeah, people are saying here, Audacious, MPV. Yeah, there's so many different players. And I actually have a bunch of playlists on different players for watching movies and stuff on my channel. Many of them are very, very old at this point in time, but there's that. Yeah, 10-minute mark. I hit the 10-minute mark, absolutely. Since lobotomy should be banned. Yeah, I agree. Lobotomies should never have been done. That's kind of crazy. We're basically the fact, like an opera, GX the Chinese, $20 for RFK Jr. giving health advice. There you go. Except that whole advice about everyone should be wearing a wearable tech. All right, we're going to pause our comments right there for a moment. So we're going to get back to our main news. And then we will, I'm just going to leave a note on all of them where I'm at. Oh, there's a lot more comments about stuff over on Rumble, but we're going to go ahead and get back to last part of the news, and then we'll come back and wrap up with comments at the end. Welcome back to the weekly news roundup and the quick lines section. And on our quick lines today, we will be talking about the human verified AI comes first, full circle stupidity. But before we get into that, we do actually have a couple of updates that we want to talk about. First is the historic chat control vote in the EU Parliament. They have killed it. It is done. And it took the pirates. That's right, guys. Piracy's alive and well. The pirate party ended the chat control. So the chat control was the EU law, been hotly debated for a while. Basically would have granted full backdoor access into any of your communication systems. It would basically mean there is no encryption. Backdoor governments would have backdoors into everything. Serious problems with this. And it basically would mean the absolute end of privacy and anonymity on the internet for sure. But the pirate party stepped in. Arrgh, shiver me timbers. And they come in and they basically drop a whole lot of information suggesting that, hey, any demands of scanning private communications must strictly be limited to individual users or groups of users suspected by a competent judicial authority of being linked to CSAM. So that is basically what their final take was. They dropped a lot of research and information. We're not going to read all this kind of stuff for the brevity of time. I'm sick of these QuickLines going over 40 minutes. But it kind of goes into a lot of the things, and even listing the commission report from Chat Control 1.0, which was the voluntary test, basically said, hey, almost everything comes from Meta, and we're sick of all of these U.S. companies being involved. All of this stuff gave us an overload of junk data that was completely difficult to process. Over half of it, or about half of it, was completely irrelevant. 40% of the investigations found it was minors thoughtlessly sharing images, sexting type stuff, rather than organized predators. And they talked about the obsolete model due to various encryption because, they shut down the big guys. Everyone just moves to the smaller guys. So basically their own report suggested that it was stupid. Ultimately, in the end, the EU groups all got together and suggested that this should end, and so they all voted, and it's officially done. So awesome, very good. Another update, Adobe settles the DOJ cancellation fee lawsuit. It's going to pay $75 million in penalty to the DOJ and then match a $75 million penalty to all of their customers who were trying to get away from them and not be customers anymore. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but, canceling software subscription is supposed to be easy. Well, and not really, because we actually had the one-click rule under the, which was on the desk for, was it the FTC, I think? And they killed it. That was a law that basically said as easy it is to sign up, it has to be that easy to quit. And they literally closed that down, saying it would cause lots of business revenue. So you basically told people you have to accept all of this business stuff. You have to accept all of these from what? You have to accept all of this stuff from people who don't want to be your customers anymore, and you're making it excessively difficult to cancel. So, put everything that you have on prepaid cards, and if you want to quit, just stop refilling the card, So Adobe was hiding hefty termination fees. It was like 50% of the remaining balance would be due as soon as you wanted to cancel it. So, if your situation's changed and you could no longer afford it, you were doing it for a job and you lost your job, you don't have a means to even pay anymore. And Adobe's like, no, you can't do that. But the hinge of the lawsuit was that they were hiding the terminology of the cancellation terms behind subscriptions with fine print or behind hyperlinks. So you'd have to click several pages deep to even know there's a 50% cancellation fee. So they're going to pay $75 million to the government and $75 million to the affected customers, not in the terms of money. They're going to give them $75 of free services to the people who wanted to cancel their services but couldn't. Yeah. Okay, that just happened. They also say down here, as is common in companies, they will not admit to violating the law. I'm sorry. I think that the entire concept that we're not admitting to violate the law, nope, that should be thrown out. If you're going to make a deal and not go through your court case and you're going to settle, you should not be allowed to say, we didn't break any laws. Nope. We're going to go through discovery then. Let's go ahead and see how deeply you did. There you go. All right, there's our updates. We're going to do our main story today. This is interesting because just follow the progression here. And I've talked about these things before. This is just the next step in the chain of insanity. So OpenAI and crazy man Sam Altman, who needs to be in one of those mental asylums we were talking about in the comment break, he comes out with ChatGPT. Whole world jumps on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is not good enough to use in your lawsuits. It's not good enough to use for your health. It's not good enough to use for like real world things that humans really need to pay attention to. But it's amazing for spam. It's amazing for scams. And basically, AI bots took over the internet. So now Sam Altman's looking down at the world and going, okay, we have a serious AI problem, guys. I don't know how this AI problem happened, but we're going to have to use this orb to verify everybody's a human on the internet. So now to get on the internet, or maybe install your operating system or install a program through the App Store, you can use our world thing by scanning your eye, and we're going to give you a little encryption key, and that verifies that you really are a human being. Awesome. Great. So, okay. The guy who unleashed the problem on the world should not give us the solution. Because guess what we have now? Now we have these people that are verifying themselves with their eye print. Okay. But now what's the latest thing they want to do? Well, the latest thing they want to do is they want to roll out agentic AI. And if you don't remember, agentic AI is where the AI acts as your agent. So the agentic AI comes by and says, I am happy to help you, sir. And you say, find me a toothbrush on the internet, right? And so, thank you, sir. I will find you the toothbrush. And then it scours out and does all its things. But now we have a fundamental problem that now all the AI companies, they are now asking you to tell an AI to go on the internet. So remember, AI shows up. Now there's too many bots. We don't know who's human and who's not human. Like, who's acting as a human, who is not. So now we need to verify everybody's a human. But now the biggest AI thing is to have an agentic AI bot. And so you have the agentic AI bot, and that now goes out onto the internet. But now we have a fundamental problem because this is contrary to the original idea. So now what do we need to do? Well, now we need to verify that your agentic bot, so your robot, is acting on your behalf as a verified human. So we have the AI going on the internet on your behalf. So it's now the bot going on the internet, but now this is a bot that has your AI human print behind it. So now that's what he wants to do. Now, there are other ways of getting quote unquote verified by a world that does not involve your eye scan. But if you want the agentic AI, you have to have your eye scan. So, we are going to scan your forehead and your right hand no matter what you say eventually, right? And so they're creating what they call the proof of human tech, the ID verification, internet increasingly overrun by AI-generated content of dubious quality. OpenAI, of course, is widely blamed for creating all of that slop, and Microsoft, of course. But this week, Tools for Humanity, the startup behind World, released the beta of a new verification tool. This one's designed to support the build-out of agentic commerce. So now it's okay to have a robot going around the internet as long as it's tied to your retina scan. Yeah, folks. Yeah. That's interesting. And so we've gone full circle. Humans are on the internet. Now the bots are on the internet. We have to verify the humans are on the internet. Now it's the bots, but they're verified by the humans. World announced the solution to all this. Okay, trend promise. Let me go up here first. The trend promises a certain amount of automated convenience, but also has raised the specter of new forms of fraud, spam, and other forms of large-scale internet abuse. Agent Kit, a software development tool geared towards commercial websites that allows the inclusion of a new verification system that lets those sites verify real human, is behind the agent's purchasing decision. So how long before a credit card processor will not refund a spam order unless you adopt the dystopian nonsense that Psycho Man himself needs, is pushing? That's fun. The most secure version of the ID is derived from the scan of the user's eyes via the world's orb device. Okay, so that's how you do it. Of course, this is developed by Coinbase and Cloudflare. This protocol is a blockchain-based standard allowing automated computer programs to transact with each other online without human verification at each step. And so all of this, basically, what they're saying here is that he's comparing the new function to delegating a power of attorney to the agent. So the bots are allowed on the internet again, as long as they are acting on behalf of the human who has been verified by the world. So if your bot is found misbehaving, you are now completely on the hook for it. Very fascinating. So, and there was actually another article. I should have put it the next one. So I think actually it's this article here. So let me go ahead and do this article next. I'm going a little out of order here. But why do we know all this and what's going on here? Well, apparently there's a network of 20,000 plus fake shops on the internet. And this one here is 20,000 domains, dozens of shared IP addresses. I think it's like 36 IP addresses. all with identical storefronts with different names pasted on the top. All they're here for is to steal your payment data. Now, they say there's a massive rise of these. I wonder why. Maybe it's because the agentic AI. And remember, the whole purpose of the agentic AI is to tell the AI to go on the internet to find you products. So now let's just fill the internet with thousands and thousands and thousands of stores that are collecting your information. You know, that's probably handed over to you by the agentic AI. There you go. All right. So they discovered, they never deliver what they promise, of course. In fact, I saw a meme the other day where a lady's like, she's like, yeah, I ordered these stockings on the internet and they haven't come yet. They were $80 and I had to enter my social security number too. So if this is true, this woman paid $80 on one of these scammy websites and included her social security number, payment information, and social security number. And I bet the leggings are not coming. I bet identity fraud's coming. That'll be cool. But so of course none of these sites actually deliver anything. So sometimes they get nothing at all. Other times they get cheap knockoff stuff worth a fraction of the advertised price. So the scale of the problem exploded. And they're actually blaming something else here. Driven in part by the economic anxiety around trade tariffs. I'm sorry, Malware Bytes. I think you're smoking something funny. Are those brownies clean? What are you doing there? No, this has entirely to do with agentic AI and bots going around the internet. In fact, this is fascinating. I was talking to a friend who does a lot of business setup and stuff, and they do a lot of email marketing. What he reported, and I haven't gone into my clients to look at our things, but what he reported is that he's sending out mail newsletters, and he found that in recent months, his newsletters had a 100% open rate. 100%. Most newsletters, if you have a 10% open rate, your campaign is considered a success. Why? Because the AI is opening all of your mail, reading it for you, and summarizing it for you. So we can't even get proper marketing stats anymore. Not that I really want proper marketing stats in this world, but it was just a neat observation somebody told me the other day. And so looking at this, they say the fake e-scams rose by 790% in the first quarter compared to the same time last year, driven in part by the economic anxiety around the trade tariffs pushing consumers inward to bargain alternatives. I think this entirely has to do with agentic AI. Not everything is Orange Man bad, believe it or not. Same storefront, different names. So most use the .shop TLD, which has become a favorite among scammers thanks to cheap registration fees and plausible-looking names. .shop extension now ranks among the top TLDs associated with spam and malicious activities, according to Cloudflare's email security. So all these sites are all running on WordPress and are powered by SillyVille, a legitimate US-based e-commerce platform that allows users to launch drop-sharing stores quickly with ready-made templates, product catalogs, and payment processing. And so this is a service called SillyVille, which is legitimate. Their free one only lasts 15 days, after which it is $39 a month for the basic account. So I don't know if they're using like a bigger feed account that allows them to have one license managing all these sites, or if every one of these 20,000 sites has their own $30. But if that's the case, they're making so much money on this to make it worth it. But isn't it funny? They're all WordPress. Here's some examples of these different stores. So this is Absolute Catch Bay. This is Absolute Buy Haven. Wow, look at those completely different websites. This one over here, we got Spiritly, and I can't read that one. Exquisite Finds, though. Find some very exquisite stuff over there. That's right. This one over here, we got, what do we got? We got Spark Aura, and we got Missalore. There you go. Hey, at least they're changing up that image a little bit. That's probably an overlay. It's just CSS stuff, you know. Here's this one here. We got Spirit Maze, and we got Spell Avenue. There you go. Oh, here we got more. We got more. Trusted Geek, Trusted Electronics. There you guys go. We will not be endorsing this show here. All right. There you go. Tyke Collections, Tyke Boom. There you go. There you go. So there you go. 20,000 domains, 36 IP addresses, all because of, agentic AI. There you go. All right, moving on here. I don't want to go too long here today. Instagram users are urged to save their encrypted DMs before the feature disappears. That's right. Meta is citing low adoption uses and directing users to export affected messages. So Instagram had a means that you could do fully encrypted texting, chatting. And actually, it turns out most people didn't even know this existed, which is funny. But this was actually part of their rollout. The company says users with encrypted conversations will receive in-app instructions on how to download the messages before the feature disappears. So this optional security layer allowed Instagram users to send messages and make calls that only participants in a conversation could read or hear. So, intended. And they basically said, we introduced this feature as part of Meta's push towards private messaging, which apparently they are discontinuing. So Meta no longer has a push towards private messaging because they say there's too much tension between privacy protections and safety oversight. So they're going to prioritize safety oversight rather than privacy on their platform. So there you go. End-to-end encrypted messages on Instagram will no longer be supported. Anyone who wants to keep messaging end-to-end encryption can do it on WhatsApp. Of course, can they access that? Probably. But they said when this rolled out, it was not enabled by default. So, not everybody knew it was even there. In fact, a lot of people found out this even existed for the first time by reading about the article that it's going away. So that's an interesting twist on the circumstances. So there you go. This is, of course, because companies do not want to encrypt. So there you go. Facebook is removing, or Meta is removing encryption from some of their apps. There you go. Well, we all have to be safe. Make sure you're using authenticator apps to make sure that no one can break into your logins. Oh, I'm sorry. Microsoft Authenticator could leak login codes. Update your app now, folks, to probably the new version that's completely broken. Microslop at it again. All right. A vulnerability in the Authenticator app for both iOS and Android could leak your one-time sign-in codes or authentication deep links to malicious apps on the same device. Yeah. Creates the time-based codes, handles sign-in links and QR-based logins for Microsoft and other accounts. So vulnerability affects users who have Microsoft Authenticator installed on an iOS or Android device. For this vulnerability to be exploited, the user would first need to install the malicious app on their device and then accidentally choose that app to handle sign-in deep links. Of course, it's Microsoft, so, that was all recommended by Copilot, most likely. They say here are some advice when scanning QR codes or tapping sign-in links. Verify the handler is Microsoft Authenticator or another trusted app and not an unknown, recently installed, or otherwise suspicious app. Of course, if you're a normie, you probably don't know the difference. So watch the channel more, learn a lot more about it, and get YubiKeys, folks. Get YubiKeys. All right, well, the FBI is investigating malware hidden inside of Steam games. Yeah. So investigating a hacker suspected of publishing several video games laced with malware on Steam. So Blockblasters, Chimia, Dashverse, FPS, Lampy, Lunera, Pirate and Tokenova. These all have malware on them. And they were basically all, they were all just little free apps. You could easily download them. Hey, why not? Looking for something to do. It's a free game. You collect them all, And so basically the goal of their developers was to act as a sort of Trojan horse, tricking gamers to install malware on their computers. Steam took the games down, but an unknown number of people were infected in the meantime. And nobody responded to requests for comments. But yeah, be aware. Some games on Steam, sometimes they're just full of malware. Oh boy, insurance companies. I think the insurance industry itself needs gutted as well. State Farm flew a drone over my house, and now I'm stuck with a $20,000 bill. I don't know. I'd get a little bit more vindictive about this. I would bring in an engineer if the facts of the case here is lady has a house. Now, it says she's owned the house since 1993, and she was stunned when she received a notice warning that her roof needed to be replaced. Basically, it looks like State Farm. I guess State Farm's doing this a lot. Other insurance companies probably as well. But State Farm apparently flies a drone near her house and determines she needs the roof replaced, and she has to either change her coverage or lose her coverage or replace the roof. Now, I do have some questions about this. So she's owned her home since 1993. If she has not replaced her roof since 1993, then there's some problems there. You know, a roof that old could need replaced. Now, if she has replaced it, let's say she replaced it 5 years ago, she could be like, yeah, I just replaced that a few years ago. Here's the receipts for that. But what I might do is bring on an engineer, hire an engineer, pay whatever that fee is, send that engineering report to them, and a requirement for them to provide the evidence that they had for their claim. And if they fail to provide anything of substance, I'm going to bill them the cost, probably in the form of a credit. And if they wouldn't do it, I'd sue them over it. I mean, let's start holding these insurance companies to account, you know? You can't fly a drone near my house and then take some weird shoddy drone footage and then be like, well, this house needs stuff. Now, the other thing that could be going on is this is in California, and California insurance companies have been looking for ways to get out. They're looking for any possible escape clause to stop doing business in California, you know, because they refuse to do anything. They refuse to send police to solve problems. They refuse to, you know, solve situations that will stop forest fires. They're basically incompetent buffoons running around doing Lord knows what, you know. But they're very inclusive, I notice, you know. But anyway, all that being said, maybe it's possible the insurance company's just looking for a way to just drop clients. That's possible as well. She said no inspector had visited the property or climbed on the roof. She believes the company evaluated it remotely with aerial imagery or drone technology. And I would wager that's probably not enough to determine if a roof needs replaced. I mean, unless it has obvious big gaping holes. That's, you know, a sign. So her experience reflects a growing trend in insurance industry, which carriers are increasingly turning to high-tech tools to evaluate homes from above. Drones, satellite images, and artificial intelligence are being used to analyze roofs and other exterior features as companies decide whether to renew policies. Again, though, don't forget California. A lot of insurance companies are trying to get out of California. So it's kind of crazy. So that could be what's going on. Again, we don't know how old that roof is. If she's moved in there since in 1993 and has never done anything with the roof might need replaced. Just a thought. Those are not permanent structures. They do need replaced. Any homeowner should be socking away some money. It will cost, you know, does a roof cost $20,000? That's a little high, actually. I'd shop out a couple different bids. $20,000 for a roof. I mean, it depends on the size of the house too, but $20,000 for, I don't know, a small old house in California would be a lot of money, even in this economy. So, you know, and an engineering report could counter that. So there's ways to fight against this. Consumer advocates argue technologies sometimes lead insurers to overreact to data that may not be accurately reflect a home's condition. And, you know, as they are passing the buck to technology, this does happen more and more and more. That is certainly true. All right, up to my favorite company, HP, which I will never do business with again, and I will recommend you never do business with again. It's a bunch of crazy, fraudulent psychopaths over there. But HP there, they have a new incentive to stop blocking third-party ink in its printers. This has to do with there is a new electronic product environmental assessment tool, the EPEAT 2.0 registry, and HP fails their registry, which means they would fall off this classification, which actually could mean governments couldn't use them. Certain organizations taking green standards couldn't use them. And so I got to say, I mean, as much as I'm against all this, you know, crazy environmentalist nonsense, after reading this article, I'm thinking about going and getting some super glue and, you know, super gluing my hand to some pavement somewhere. I got to say, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking about it. I mean, if these guys turn around HP, I very well may glue my hand to some pavement somewhere. I mean, or I don't know, should I do that or should I splash some tomato soup on David or something? I don't know. Let me know. But anyway, North American toner and inkjet cartridge manufacturers, component suppliers, and cartridge collectors. That is who the organization is representing, and they say it's important to note that the international ITC may be considered biased because its members could greatly profit when printer manufacturers commit to supporting aftermarket cartridges. Well, what do you think HP is doing? HP is saying, hey, I know you bought that printer, but you have to use the exact ink we say you have to use it. So I would argue that you can't say, well, they're biased because, their members greatly profit from this. Well, what do you think HP is doing? HP, be happy I bought your printer. And that's just an example. I would never buy an HP product. But HP, be happy I bought your printer. But I find your ink a little bit too expensive, so I'm going to use this company as well. Now, HP, if you played good consumer and reduced the cost of your ink so it's comparable to the cost I can get somewhere else, and it's good quality, I might buy your ink instead of their ink. But as long as your ink is $100 million and their ink cost me $25 on Amazon, I'm buying their ink, HP. You see, HP is just being too greedy here. They want to lock you out and say, well, you can buy our printer and pay your own money for it, but you have to use our ink forever and ever and ever and ever. You're not allowed to use those guys' ink. Well, I want to use their ink because they're giving me the same thing I need to print my document without costing me a lot of money. Because I don't know if HP noticed, but things are getting expensive these days, I do actually have to comment on something. I do. From a video, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago with grocery store prices, they raised the prices of candy, and I can no longer justify buying any. I'm not paying $1.50 for stuff. $1.24, I was like, I don't know, I'll do it. $1.50 for a box of candy? Ain't doing it. Nope. Done. Out. But for all you guys, I told you so, I told you so. I did also just pay $1 and... Eggs. Oh, that was last week's receipt. I can't find the exact receipt I had. Or was it this one? I think it was $1.16 for eggs. Large eggs, $1.66. 1 dozen large eggs, $1.66. Pineapple, $1.85. A head of green lettuce, $1.89. So it's a matter of if you're like, a cake still costs $8, you're shopping at the wrong store. Just telling you. And I've seen those prices consistently across the whole country. That was Dixon, Tennessee. The other place, this one here, completely sugar-free beef jerky, $6. What else did I have on there? Bacon, $4.79. A pack of strawberries, $1.99. That was in Mount Pleasant, Texas. So, I mean, things are not as expensive as you think, but box candy, but yeah, HP, though, trying to charge too much. So basically, this new registry comes over here and mentions in order to maintain good standing with a company, they have to do one or more of 3 options. The first option here requires the manufacturers to refrain from issuing firmware updates and intentionally disable remanufactured cartridges. Second option would be requiring the printer companies to make available manufacturer solutions using unmodified original manufacturer cartridges, basically allowing people to refill their own cartridges. Or option 3 is for manufacturers to make available, such as through the manufacturer's website, to purchase remanufactured cartridges. So this doesn't have as much to do with the third party as much as it has to do with we have to have the option to use recycled or renewed cartridges or refilled cartridges, not the cartridge is over, let's toss it in the trash. So yeah, if they are successful at turning this around, I might just go and super glue my hand to some pavement somewhere, just in protest, in support for the environmentalist movement. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts about that. And Kalshi has some legal troubles pile up as Arizona files first ever criminal charges over illegal gambling businesses. This is very fascinating because I spent some time in the museums down in Tombstone this trip about a month or two ago. I was down in Tombstone, and I was reading about one of the games they played there, which is illegal in all 50 states because it favors the house by like 60%. But if you look at Kalshi and Polymarket's plans, they basically, everything they do also tends to favor the house about the same amount. So that should be kind of illegal. Of course, they get out by saying, we're not gambling, we're just trading in futures. Future predictions. That would be called gambling. Which, by the way, these companies, Kalshi and Polymarket and other companies like this, these are causing absolute destruction among young people right now. It is absolutely getting them addicted to gambling, even if it's not officially gambling. Bullcrap. It's gambling. All right. We're trading on futures. We're trading on predictions of futures. Yeah, I am going to predict my possibility of getting a jack of clubs is going to be 1 out of 52. Okay, that is a betting on a prediction of a future. All right. And I think that these are doing the same thing. Of course, the widespread allowing of betting on a bunch of different things is too close to gambling. It should be considered gambling, and that should have serious restrictions on it, if not being outright banned, because these things do cause some fundamental problems, particularly in young people. Because gambling is a serious addiction. It is a bad one. In fact, gambling is so bad of an addiction, it is even outpacing pornography as addicting young people faster. It's crazy. Now, what they're focusing specifically on is election wagering, offering bets to Arizona residents for various races, which betting on election races in the state of Arizona is illegal. Now, Kalshi's like, it's a prediction market, but Arizona alleges are running an illegal gambling operation and taking bets on elections, which both of which would be a violation of law. Basically, you cannot gamble on addictions, no matter what on elections, no matter what you call it in the state of Arizona. So now they're going back and forth with each other, saying that Kalshi says the federal government says everything we do is legal, and you have no right to overrun the federal government in that. But Arizona's basically saying, hey, they're just trying to test individual states in patchwork ways just to see what they can possibly get away with. But one of the factors to consider, though, I don't know. Actually, sorry. Hit my thing there. I was going to go down a line of thought, but I thought about another argument to that, which would have countered that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what Kalshi is up to. So let me know about your thoughts on all those as we go on into SillyVille. Not a lot of amazing SillyVille this week, but we'll cover what we got here. This professor gave her students a basic exam after they used AI to summarize everything, and the results were not good. The average was 64 out of 100 because they thought they knew. And this is neat. I studied the education psychology years ago. And there's a number of different things. And what we suffer with most right now is that first stage of education. And we stop at recognition. You see, there's a couple different phases. There's recognition, there's recall, and there is full understanding. What we seek in education is full understanding. Oftentimes with more rote things, you need to do a lot of memorization just to kind of solidify all the concepts. People my age, we were put through the times tables. We had to memorize the times tables. You younger folks, you have no earthly idea what I'm talking about. And you're like, what? But I have a calculator with me every day, the fact of the matter is, no, memorizing those times tables helped us tremendously more. It wasn't just about the simply having this memorized. It's the same thing like, sir, I'm never going to use this type of level of math. No, it enriches your life in many other ways to do something like that. But what AI is doing and technology is doing at large is it is giving people a facade of understanding through recognition. Recognition is the most dangerous thing in education because recognition allows you to look at something, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. Okay, I know it. But then if you're asked to recall it under certain circumstances, you don't know any of it because you don't actually know any of it. It's not an understanding thing. It's a recognition. Recognition is the dangerous phase of education. So these students all thought that they were basically doing, they basically all thought they knew it because they were feeding basic things. They were basically feeding their syllabus requirements into AI and then reading the AI summaries and then thinking they were knowing things. But then when an exam was given in a class that would usually have scored 85 out of 100 on average, these ones are actually averaging 64 on average. But then, of course, they were caught using AI in other ways as well. And so this study, 94% of cheaters using AI written college exams got away with it. So that's kind of the incentives to doing it. So this person, I'm going to read all of her X posts here, but it basically summarized as I gave a bunch of things. They thought they understood it because they basically fed the assignments into AI and then read the cliff notes the AI spit out. But on administering an exam at a 300 level course, so 300 level course is going to be like a maybe late sophomore, maybe early junior level college course. So this is an advanced class. This isn't something like, your intro to chemistry that you have to do as your core requirements for your English major. This is a 300 level course. It's an upper level course. This is something people should understand. In fact, it's kind of funny. I did, in my physical chemistry, our first exam of the semester was 4 questions, 100 points, 4 questions. But just to throw the class for a loop, he actually pulled the first question out of our Gen Chem textbook. Okay. I recognized it right away, but most people are overthinking it. I was one of only 2 people that got that question right. It was general chemistry. This is a graduate level chemistry course. Every person in there should have gotten that hands down without even thinking about it. But they overthought the problem. Okay. But this is an upper level course, something that the students should really like. This isn't like, okay, I'm going to use AI to breeze through my gen ed requirements because why not? It's gen ed. This is their upper level course in their field of study. They should not be using AI. They're cheating themselves. But the average of this was 64. The class usually averages 80 to 85. So basically, it summarizes that looking everything over, all they did is fed the information into the LLMs. They thought they understood the material, but in reality, they just recognized it. And recognition, you can never bring recognition back on an exam. And so that was kind of the thing. So yeah, AI is dumbing us down even more. So this is the first midterm covering only 4 weeks of material. Students had a list of possible questions in advance. Questions included 3 concept definitions, 3 paragraph long questions, and a 1.5 page essay. And I have taught the class multiple times. Nothing in my teaching style has changed this semester. It's just AI. They're just feeding AI in and becoming idiocracy idiots. That's kind of what it is. And we'll wrap up with the dictionary is suing OpenAI, because why not? The dictionary must always sue OpenAI. Why not? So what they're alleging here is that OpenAI went through and basically ingested all of the articles on their site and effectively is reproducing them in full or partial verbatim reproductions when asked any relevant questions. At times hallucinating, and they're even suing them for the hallucinations, crediting Britannica for things they did not actually say. Well, summarizing everything, which of course prevents people from going to their website, and getting their ads and their services. So, effectively, that's what it boils down to. I just thought it was really funny that the dictionary is suing OpenAI because, that's just the textbook definition of a lawsuit. I know. If you want to help support the channel, we do have a science fiction novel called Synaptergy. You can look it up anywhere you can buy books online, Synaptergy. You can actually go to our site, which is synaptergy.com or tlm.li/s. And you can actually listen to the first 5 minutes. You can read chapter 1, see if that is your thing or not. We do have a couple places where you can pick it up. We have a number of links there. Actually, our author website is down, but you can pick it up anywhere you can buy books online. We have print books, audiobooks, and ebooks available of Synaptergy. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts about all these stories in the comments down below. Well, it was 39 minutes, not 40 minutes. Why can I not get that thing shorter? I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and feed the beast, and then we will go back to wrap up with comments. All right, the beast has been fed. We did get one more super chat from Commodore Fan 64. I'll take advice from RFK Jr. any day over a jab-pushing idiot we had in the last admin. Ooh, yes, I would concur. I would concur. All right, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, we don't want to beat people. I mean, that's like for the insane asylum stuff. That's like like the electroshock therapy. That's a bunch of nonsense. Let's see if there's anything I can find over here. Ninth installment in 1984. Started the GNU project. 1991. He had Linux liberate the Linux kernel. GNU. All right. GNU plus Linux. GNU only. GNU supremacy. There you go. All right. Everyone's just saying GNU back and forth. GNU and Linux back and forth over there. Okay. Video games have been malware for a long time. Yeah, there you go. Feeding the syllabus requirements to AI. They're still opening a syllabus. I mean, yes, they're opening the syllabus for the purpose of feeding it to AI. So, of course, they're still opening the syllabus. I mean, you can't do that. All right, we got 12 watching on Rumble. Stole from Xerox. Steve saw it on a tour of the campus. Yeah. Manjaro, the horror of horrors. Yeah. And Dev1 proves its worth. Where'd Usenet go? Pimp that made funny videos about cops breaking into his house. What? Oh, Afro. Oh, is that Afro Man? Funny videos about the cops. I'll have to go look at the Afro Man. I'm intrigued. All right. Let's see. Penny penalty where there's $1 trillion penalty instead. When did Meta, Facebook ever care about privacy? Hey, for a short day, they actually were pushing some privacy stuff. I don't think it was legit, but you know. Have Epson EcoTank manually fill the ink. Also Linux support. There you go. The podcast link to those watching this stream. Yeah, you go to podcast.switchedtolinux.com. We have a couple different. Tom is Ivan. Okay, what? No, I'm. Tom is not Ivan, but Ivan is Ivan. But if you're asking for like links or things like that, Ivan's generally the better person to ask. He's kind of like the de facto producer type person giving us information. All right. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm like too tied up in keeping the show going. Ivan will give you links and stuff on the back end. So, all right, and he'll of course boot you out with the band hammer as well. Let's see, microchips and salsa. Ooh, salsa's good. Chuck Norris in the hospital after medical emergency while on vacation. Look, I read some of these already. Oh yeah, I did down here. So thanks, Fresh Vintage, $20 super chat. Thanks for RFK Jr. giving health advice, 100%. There you go. Repost it from the official Opera GX account. They don't like it there either. Yep. Okay, yeah, that'll pay for like a quarter tank of gas. This current economy. Actually, what I just paid for gas. $37 I just paid for half a tank of gas. In Kentucky. That wasn't California. That was Kentucky. Oh, dear. All right. VLC is the biggest. Yeah, more cheap, more bad fellow, more cheap. It can be bad. The Edge is a literal malware on Linux. Let's see. Yeah. MPV, simply because it's small, lightweight, seems to support a lot of formats. Yeah, MPV is good. No bells and whistles at all. Neri plus DMS. Rare win from a clown party. All right. Let's see. Not use a device to verify that I am a human. I'm standing in front of you. And the funniest thing about that World ID is that they wanted to use it like coffee shops. Like, okay, do you really think I'm a robot walking into the coffee shop and buying a Frappuccino? I mean... also here, Amazon data center in the Middle East have been damaged with a missile. I see that. I was completely heartbroken about that. Let's see, but FaceSwap has never had any privacy. I do not believe in climate change extremism, but I'm open-minded to science. Yeah, like climate always changes. How much impact do we as humans have? Not an appreciable amount from considering that one solar flare can wipe us out, you know. Buy a cheap printer, just replace the whole printer, cheaper than buying new ink. I did that in college. I think I had 3 of the Lexmark printers. I kept on buying a Lexmark printer every time the cartridge went out because the printer was cheaper. I remember a university statistics lecturer gave a test to the entire class and told us we used a textbook and all of us failed the test. Turned out to be right, yeah. Missed this one again. Well, hey, you're here at the very end, I guess. Considering buying an ambulance for building a mobile computer center. Nice. That would be an awesome one to do. The ambulance that Bob Wells at Cheap RV Living, I think they're still in the process of auctioning it off. I got a chance to look through that one. That was a pretty sweet thing, man. You could build a nice computer system there, kind of like this computer system here, you know. I got me Raspberry Pis all over. I got a streaming computer built into the walls. I got AC outlets, DC plugs, all sorts of fun stuff going on in here. Totally awesome. Totally awesome. Heartbroken. Not. Well, Central PA is $389. Oh. Like, is that State College or is that, what city is that, if you don't mind? That's where I'm going back to. Although, curiously, last year I did not buy any gas in State College because I had to be in Lewisburg like every week. So I just topped off in Lewisburg because Lewisburg had a gas war going on between Sheetz, Wawa, and who's the other one up there? Rudders. The 3 of them all converged in the Lewisburg area, and it dropped gas prices into the $2. All right, I think we are pretty much. I think we are pretty much done here. So, yep, we are going to jump off here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. That'll help support me on my trip back to central Pennsylvania, where I am heading back to. Should be there next week, actually. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you all next time.